In a grocery store produce aisle, a manager dumps a janitor's backpack and humiliates him over day-old bread. A pharmacist leaves her counter despite policy to protect him, risking a write-up in hours, and quietly helps him afterward. She then discovers the bread is for his wife's soft food diet after chemo, and small, lasting changes ripple through the store without fanfare. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hey, where are you tuning in from? Leave your country in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories reach. The manager tipped the grey backpack and let it go. Loaves in clear wrap and a dented inhaler spilled out, sliding into a puddle near the great display. The older man in the grey smock flinched and reached for the inhaler. The manager's radio crackled on his belt. People slowed their carts. Empty it all, the manager said. His voice was tight, the kind you use when your jaw already hurt. He nudged a soft roll with his shoe and said, "You were told. Trash stays trash." Lena watched from the pharmacy window. It sat at the back of the store, just behind the greeting cards. She could see the produce island, the green misters hissing, the neon price tags snapping under the fan. She saw the old man's hands shake as he scooped at the rolls. She saw his mouth open and close, like he didn't have the word. She checked the pharmacy clock. 4 minutes until the next vaccine walk-in. The alert blipped on her screen. Her tech, Jazz, tapped pills into a bottle and glanced up at the commotion. The board said never leave the pharmacy unattended. Cameras watched the counter. Her last review sat on a thin line, counseling for metrics. One more issue, and she could be lose a week of hours screw. On the floor, the manager held the smock guy in place with his stare. He wasn't a monster. He looked a little green around the eyes, underslept, a tight wedding ring digging into his finger. But he kept pushing it. "We had a shrink audit. We're not doing this anymore." Jazz leaned close to Lena. "Do you see that?" Lena swallowed. Yeah, she looked at the locked cabinet where narcotics slept and at the bed of receipt paper coiled like a white snake. She thought about the board. She thought about the inhaler on the tile picking up dirt. And she thought about the time the store left her alone with 6 sick kids waiting for Tamiflu and nobody from corporate picked up for an override. "Lock the half door," she told Jazz. "I'll be 2 minutes." Lena, the policy, 2 minutes. Her voice came out flat and sure. If she let it wobble, she'd sit back down. She slipped out from behind the counter. The main floor air felt cooler, wet from the misters. The produce music loop chirped out a peppy song about strawberries. She walked quick, the white coat swishing against her scrubs. She slid between a display of pineapples and the pile of ugly but good apples. She knelt and picked up the inhaler first. "It's his," she said to the manager. It was on the floor. He looked at her coat, at the name badge. He looked tired. "Back to your department." She wiped the mouth of the inhaler with a tissue from her coat and clicked the cap back on. She put it in the old man's hand. "You okay?" He nodded, the kind of nod you give to speed things up. Lena gathered the rolls, the ones still wrapped. She stacked them on the edge of a cardboard flat. "Ring all this to my card," she said. "Miss Bakery, whatever code you use, I'll buy it." "You can't buy trash," the manager said. A vein showed on his forehead. "It's not for sale. It's shrink. So write it as salvage and I'll put cash in the till," she said. "I don't care what the code is. It doesn't need to hit inventory." She kept her hands moving. Kneeling was awkward in the coat. The floor left a wet mark on her knee. A kid in a superhero t-shirt watched from a cart, eyes big. His mom tugged the cart closer to the apples. "Get up," the manager said. "You can't be on this side." He glanced toward the front end where the head cashier stood with a stack of green baskets. "We have policies." "So do I," she said. "This just isn't one of yours." She turned to the old man. "What's your name?" He stared at the floor. "Miguel." His voice was soft, dry. Lena handed him her jacket off her shoulders and draped it over the open backpack, making a small tent over the spill. It looked like something you do for a cat in a storm. "I'll cover this." She pulled her wallet out of her back pocket and held up a card. The manager shot a look at the people gathering. A teenage boy held his phone low, filming badly. A produce clerk froze with a spray hose in his hand. The green mist went a little wild across the lettuce. "Call loss prevention." The manager told his radio and then answered his own call because nobody answered. He rubbed his eyes. "You're out of your area. I can write you up for that." "Call loss prevention," she said. "I'll wait." She slid the rolls into a bag she'd grabbed from the mushroom stand. She kept them in plain sight, counting them out loud. 1, 2, 3, 4. Her hands were steady now, and that steadiness calmed Miguel a notch. His breathing evened. A supervisor from the front hustled over, shiny name tag flashing. "What's going on?" she asked in a practiced friendly tone that didn't match her stiff shoulders. "Employee theft," the manager said. "And pharmacy is involved. I'm trying to purchase these," Lena said, holding up the bag. Her card was still in her other hand, edges digging into her palm. "Miss Tender, right here." The supervisor looked toward the registers, then the crowd, then the camera bubble on the ceiling. "All right." She jerked her chin for a cashier. "Bring a mobile. We're not enabling this," the manager muttered. He looked at Miguel. The anger in his face flickered into an exhausted kind of worry. "We get docked for every unit." He didn't sound like he was talking to anyone. "I'm on my last chance." "Me too," Lena said. "So maybe let's do the thing that won't make a bunch of kids have to watch a grown man lose his air." She felt heat in her cheeks. She heard her own heartbeat. Somewhere in the store, the intercom dinged for a price check. The cashier arrived with a grey handheld and a bored expression. The bag didn't scan. Of course it didn't. The supervisor told her, "Put it under MISC. $3 each." She rattled off a department code. "Miguel wasn't stealing it," Lena said, quieter. "He was throwing it in the compactor like you told him, right?" Miguel nodded. His mouth twitched like he might joke, but nothing came. "Then someone left it on the cart and he took it," the manager said. The words fell like he knew they weren't even his to say. He looked like the argument was a coat he hated but had to wear. "Ring it," the supervisor said. The handheld chirped. "Sign." Lena signed the little screen and shoved her card back in her pocket. "Back to your department," the manager told her one more time. The tension in his jaw pulsed. He didn't look at her face. "We'll be discussing this." The immediate consequence was boring and sharp. 10 minutes later, after she walked back behind the counter to find Jazz wide-eyed and a vaccine patient checking his watch, the store phone rang. She was told to come to the office. She took the short, stiff walk through the swinging door past the time clock. The manager's voice went, "Careful, HR, careful. This is a coaching. You left your area without coverage. I need you to sign." She did not write a speech. She wrote, "Left for 2 minutes to address safety risk." She put her pen down. The manager didn't argue. He looked at the form like it was a dish he had to wash. "Is my shift over?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "We'll get coverage," which meant her hours for the day were gone. Back out on the floor, she found Miguel near the mop sink, rinsing his hands. He had a small scrape on one knuckle, haloed pink. He had her coat folded over his arm like a borrowed book. She handed him the bag of bread. In the break room, she cleaned the inhaler with an alcohol pad. She set it on a napkin to dry. She filled a paper cup with tap water and brought it to him with a banana from a seconds bin. They sat at a corner table under the posted chart of injury codes. No speeches. Just the low hum of the vending machine and the crack of someone opening a Diet Cola 2 tables over. "Do you need a ride?" she asked. He shrugged. "Bus? It's fine." His voice had more air now. "I'm off," she said. "I can take you." He hesitated. "It's not far." He glanced at the clock. "I clock back in at 10. Floors, they went anyway." He walked slow, one hand on the strap of the grey backpack. Out in the lot, the sunset made the windshields look like someone stacked lakes. The car smelled faintly like rubbing alcohol and old French fries. The bag of bread sat between them with a soft weight. They didn't talk much as she drove. The route wound past a tire shop and a laundromat with 3 out of 6 machines broken. On his street, he pointed to a second-floor apartment with a rusted balcony. His key had a blue plastic tag that said 3B, 1 minute, he said. He disappeared inside. When he came back, he held a different bag, empty with handles. He tried to give it to her like a replacement. "Keep it," she said. She noticed the strap of his backpack, frayed where it met the body. It had split in the fall. She popped her trunk and dug out a roll of duct tape. She sat on the curb and wrapped the split in thick silver bands. Her fingers ended sticky. It wasn't pretty, but it would hold. He unfolded a thin packet from his pocket. It was a printout with a grid of dates, a logo for a hospital she'd worked with for immunization clinics. Discharge instructions. Soft foods for mucositis. Keep mouth moist. Use prescribed rinse. There were notes in careful block letters. "She can only do soft," he said. He rubbed the paper with his thumb. "Bread with milk. Soup. The roll. It doesn't hurt." He didn't look up to see if she understood. She nodded. She did. "I can bring broth. The good, salty kind." It came out before she could dress it up. He looked at the duct tape strap and smiled, a small, tired smile that made him look like someone's kid for 1 second. "Gracias," he said. He reached for the bag of bread. and held it like it might break. The next morning, she went back to the store in a grey hoodie instead of her white coat. Off the clock. She bought chicken broth, a mesh bag of potatoes, a carton of eggs. She left the bag with the cashier for Miguel, with a sticky note with his name and a drawn arrow. 2 days later, a plastic bin showed up under the bakery racks. It had a paper taped to it that said Donation Food Pantry Pickup. Do not discard in block letters. The bins filled with day-old bread and wrapped pastries. On the schedule printout a small note appeared. Salvage, use code 405. The supervisor printed a one-page memo about discards and posted it next to the compactor. She underlined no public confrontations. In the break room, a nylon tote hung on a nail with free bags scrawled on it. People stopped throwing bent utensils into the trash and dropped them there instead. A coffee pot on the janitor's cart started appearing full in the first 5 minutes of the night shift. Someone arranged stir sticks in a neat triangle. Nobody said who. The manager walked past Lena one afternoon, eyes down, and said, "We put in a donation pickup." It wasn't an apology, but it was a thing with weight. Her schedule took a hit for a week. She flexed her bills, shifted a payment, made it work. Jazz started locking the half door any time someone argued at the counter. Patients waited on the carpet line instead of leaning into the opening. Miguel started wearing a small brace on his wrist. He carried a thermos that smelled like chicken and thyme. Once, between 12 and 1, he stopped at the pharmacy window to tap the glass with his knuckle, just once, and held up a folded paper. "She ate," he said when she looked up. He lifted his eyebrows, the first light on his face in days. She made a little fist and tapped the glass back like a secret handshake. When she left after the late shift, the store felt like a different building. The lights hummed the same. The carts made the same squeak. But the corner where the bread had hit the floor was clean and ordinary again. She locked her bag in the trunk. She thought about the form she had signed in the office, about lines and areas and coverage. She knew she had taken a hit. It sat in her chest like a small rock. But she also knew where that cheap bread was going. She saw the silver band of duct tape on a grey strap flash for a second under the parking lot light, and then the night swallowed it up, and the air smelled like rain.